exciting.
Guys, thank you for joining us today with the Magento and Port80 meetup. Just introducing our speakers. We have Paul Keene, CIO, Dick Smith. He's managing all infrastructure development support of 400 plus stores. We have Nikki Yeaman, sorry. Director of Costumised. Nikki, along with business partner Roma Burke, is founder of CEO of 3 e-commerce pure play businesses. And we have James Lowe, Senior Technical Consultant, Project Manager of Acidgreen. James is an agile-focused senior consultant and e-commerce project manager at Acidgreen in Sydney. And Christian Larson, Chief Technical Officer of Anchor. Christian led a team behind the infrastructure for TestFlight, Apple's iOS application test platform, as it grew 100 times in its previous size. Announcements, just to let you know, men's bathroom is right here to my right. Women's is around the corner, straight down the hall to your left. If you have any questions, just ask one of the Anchor staff. Anchor staff, could you please raise your hands? Okay, raise them higher. We all dwarfs here? He said raise your hands. Okay. All right, just ask me. We're good. Okay. Actually, I also like to thank the sponsors, Anchor and PayPal. Pizza will arrive at 8. So if you're hungry, just wait. And also, please take advantage of asking questions in regards to Magento, e-commerce, to these guys. You have business knowledge, you have technical knowledge that you're going to ask. You got free consultancy and help you for your sites. If you don't take advantage of this, go ahead and spend the $2,000 for consulting. If you need that, I'm here. Okay. I'll start off. Who would like to go first?
I nominate Christian.
Christian, you go, boy. I'll hand the floor over to the speakers.
Cheers, Paul. For a bit of background, yes, I'm Anchor's CTO. Anchor is a managed service provider and a hosting company. We've been around since about 2000. We've made our name in Sydney by being a niche player who solves interesting and complex problems with unique and elegant solutions. We like to say that we're the people who can solve the problems that other people can't. These days we're expanding internationally. We've got people in the US and the UK. We're looking to expand further. We are big sponsors at Magento Imagine next week in Vegas, and we're hoping to get a lot more traction in that market. And we're doing a lot of work in the e-commerce space because we find that that is the space we do well in. There is a lot of expectation of high availability and high performance, and those are spaces that we play very well in. I'm happy to answer questions related to hosting and our experience with Magento as the night goes on.
Paul?
I'm wishing I didn't have so much Coke Zero before.
I'm glad you said 0. Sorry. He said it, I did.
I'm not going to
Scratch for the record, rewind, say it again.
So I'm Paul Keene, I'm the CIO for Dick Smith. You probably all know who Dick Smith are. What you might not know is we actually have 3 brands in the marketplace. So we have 400 stores. So we have Dick Smith. We have, we're in every David Jones for the electronics store. We also have Move, which is based around fashion electronics. So if you see those in the shopping centres, and we're also, if you go into the airports, we're now the duty-free operator in there. Dick Smith's had an interesting history in the last, recent history. 2 years ago, we were part of Woolworths, and we were divested from the business. They didn't love us anymore. And they sold us for 20 million. But since then, we've really grown aggressively. So we've opened a store every 2 weeks. We IPO'd on the stock exchange for 550 million, so that's a good finger up at Woolworths. And you know, things have been going really well. Our journey into Magento happened during that divestment. So we suddenly realized digital needs to be a really strong platform for us. So we moved from Blue Martini to Magento. And things have gone very well. So we've gone from 2% of our business to 7% of our business, which is pretty good for a $1.4 billion company. We did that in a year. Our stores now are our fulfillment hubs for online. So 120 of our stores, and soon to be all 400, actually deliver your online goods. So, which is a great thing for our inventory, great thing for you because it's coming from your local suburb. great for freight costs. It's not all been plain sailing. We certainly struggled with Magento a year ago when it was on 1.12. It just wasn't enterprise grade. We just couldn't update the website during the day. Lots of problems. But since 1.13, we've done really well. And I think over Christmas we had 100% uptime, which was great. Yeah, and then we're now starting to look to the future. We're starting to look into things like immutable infrastructure. Thanks to Christian, got us into that. So we've looked at Anchor's fleet. We've also been looking at things like Docker for other infrastructure as well. So things to talk about. And thanks for coming tonight. Thank you.
I feel like a complete fraud being here. I've got a degree in Australian Aboriginal Archaeology. That's a fraud. I'm not a technical person. I'm a founder of e-commerce businesses. Started our first one, my business partner and I, 2001. And that's still running. It's quite a small business, but it's still going. It's called That's Mine. It prints personalised labels for children for lunchboxes and for drink bottles and what have you. We got bored with that, so we thought we knew everything about online, and we had a market database of people who had children, so we thought we'd start a costume company. We could see that in the States doing well, and there wasn't a good category killer store in Australia, so we charged on into that, and we thought it'd just be a kids costume company, but we put a few adult costumes on just to see what would happen. And the first thing we sold was Naughty Nurse. So it's kind of been how it's been since, mostly adults and 30% kids or so. We range, ever-changing group, but between 15,000 and 20,000 SKUs at any one time on the website. It's a Magento website, that one. We've just launched another website days ago called Blister, which will be it's a online marketplace for performance gear, dancewear, made-to-order dance costumes. I guess Block would be our closest competitor, but we also do made-to-order from lots of different brands. So that's the third one. That's also Magento. That one's on an enterprise platform. Costume Box, which is by far a bigger site, about 6 million visitors a year last year. I looked up this afternoon. That's still a very old edition of Community. So, so in fact, about 3 or 4 years old Community edition. So that's basically me. I guess I can answer questions from an end user point of view. Don't ask me anything technical. Yeah.
Last. That's the last.
Might be last. Yeah, so my name's James Lowe. I work at Acidgreen. I'm a project manager, a bit of everything really. Do technical consultancy. So my Magento journey started out 2010. I started at Acidgreen, and I was a developer there, working on my first task was a product import onto a Magento site selling textiles. So moved from there. My next task was working on Big Lee, which was a big win for us back in 2010, and that really started our Magento journey and my Magento journey. And since then I've moved into, I guess, consulting and then helping customers move on to Magento. Acidgreen itself started in 2000. I'm told it wasn't there, but the first site we did was an e-commerce site in ASP, I think. And since then we've moved into Magento and seen the journey, I guess, over the last 5 years of Magento. Back when I was coding on a Big Lee site, I guess there was no panels like this to have discussions. So it's seeing the Magento community evolve and the open source environment's been really great. So yeah, that's a really short one from me. I'm looking forward to what these guys, very different aspects of Magento. So feel free to ask any questions. Not too technical. I said technical consultant, but it could be senior or junior depending on the questions they get asked. So I'm looking forward to it.
Now we're going to open the floor for questions. I have a ton of them, but please don't be shy. Also, I have safe words, so if you get out of hand, keep asking the question, and you're rude and you just jump in, I'm going to call you out, so just be careful. So just say, we'll open the floor for questions now. Anyone?
Yep.
Everyone's scared now.
Paul, you mentioned Docker. Is that hosted by Anchor as well? Do you guys?
We have multiple instances of Amazon we run. So we have Anchor runs our website for us. So we're looking more into using the Fleet product because there's a great blueprint for for Magento there, but around for the Docker piece, there's bits we're starting to play with for other infrastructure around BI and things like that. The interesting thing I think is you can see certainly with Amazon really focusing around the containerization part. They've got the EC2 containers, and there's clearly that whilst they don't spell it out too much, there's clearly where they think the market's going. I'm very conscious of Christians to my right. But yeah, I think it's a really interesting concept. My previous company, Red Balloon, they're now fully onto Docker, using that for their DevOps deployment, and they went from sort of AWS CloudFormation solution and to a bit of Puppet, and now they're just fully on Docker, and they said it works a treat.
Yeah, so my question's sort of for all of you. I guess each one of you sort of customised Magento to make it work for your product or your line of whatever it is you're doing. You had like 4. Out of that customisation and the cost it's made to customise, etc., is it still profitable, or was it better off to possibly go down the road of reinventing the wheel and generating your own e-commerce specifically designed for what you wanted? Or does it work out better to stick with Magento?
I'd have to have something to compare it to, but I can't believe that building it custom, when I hear about people who have, anyway, big company to build a custom website and they're talking $1 million, I can't see how it's cheaper.
Oh yeah, but they're usually really loose on what the requirements are. It's more specific about like your smaller sort of startup.
From a cost point of view, that's not the prohibitive part of Magento. Magento is really low cost. I think that the things you put onto low cost, the developer time's the biggest thing. It's not, they kind of say, oh, you can put this on yourself, but you can't, because it'll run into something else and miss something else.
That was exactly my question. Out of all the customisation you did, was it difficult to move on? Is that why you're still stuck where you're stuck?
We're not stuck so much, it's just busy. It's difficult to customise websites. One thing always smashes into something else, and one bit of code can ruin your whole day. Something you think's going to work beautifully and it doesn't for months. Yeah, it's difficult.
So I think your question maybe is about also the barrier to entry. Like there's Shopify's and there's easier ways to get into it if you just want to sell a product. Magento is definitely for the advanced.
But they'll only get you so far.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, customising Magento is the way to go if you are a bigger player. I guess it's the biggest step. But yeah, I guess.
Nature of the beast. So
That's it.
I've got a background in Hybris as well. And we did a strategic review of our platform about 3 months ago, and looking at the different costs of how much it costed. The Magento license, especially the Enterprise Edition, isn't much, realistically, compared to others. And we thought, well, maybe it's cheap, but then you're going to spend so much time customizing it. And Hybris is supposedly more expensive, but it's also meant to have lots of features built in, therefore the actual overall total cost of ownership is less. It's complete crap. It both require an awful lot of customization. Hybris have an equal amount of problems as Magento does. There are some pluses and minuses, but if you ever speak to anyone who's done Hybris for the first time, people with apply this online who are really very good development team, they didn't even deploy their first version of Hybris. They messed up the data model so much, and that's a pretty common thing. Upgrading Magento is still a bit of a. It took us in the end 6 months to upgrade from one.
Yeah, I guess that was my question was around that. I mean, you're doing such big numbers, and 6 million users a year is a huge number. And how much you've actually customised Magento? Is it still Magento, or is it Magento anymore? I mean, but that's okay. That's not the question.
It's for us, we do an awful lot, and it's still very close to the core of what it needs to do. There's we'll talk about later about some of the features.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to stick on the question. That's what the last question to say.
But what would you say, we have this, but that's my business, quite a small business. It's, I don't mind telling you, it's only about a 700,000 turnover, and it's only got about 20 products, which have some variations, but so it's a really small business. And we need a new website for that, so it's on an old X-Cart website. I don't know if anyone knows what that is. Yeah, it works. works. The thing just works, I have to say. We used to have costume box on each cart, and the thing was fast. You know, it was simple, and we couldn't do this and couldn't do that, get very frustrated, but the damn thing was fast. And when we switched to Magento and costume box, we lost about $1 million in trade over 3 or 4 months just because of the speed issues. So, you know.
So did that fall back on hosting, or was it just too much code floating around?
We were dealing with a company in the US at that time. That's who built it for us at the time, and it was like this. No one would, until Acidgreen came on the scene and fixed it all for us. Nobody would take responsibility for anything. So, yeah,
Secret out of that.
I think they misjudged.
Us both.
They were arrogant. They didn't believe our traffic. They didn't believe our SKUs. They just didn't realise how big a site it was going to be. And oh yeah, Magento can do this, Magento can do that, but only with a whole lot of help can it.
I think Costume Box is a great example of how Magento, even in the community edition, can do really well. To answer your question, you know, the core of Magento is still there. Like there's extensions and some few customizations, but you know, we're extending on Magento. So to try and build that from scratch would be pretty crazy, I suppose. You know, built on themes, it's tried and tested in the big communities.
I'll get more technical and ask you on what point you were building on, like, is the framework or is it the DB? I'm not going to go into that now.
Happy to chat later.
I'll have a safe word for you. Any more questions? In the back?
So I guess mine's more at the business component. So one of the biggest things and the biggest challenges when you're bringing anything like that, like with a Shopify, e-commerce, etc., what you're then doing is you're offloading a portion of your PCI compliance, and you're taking what you need to do for your paperwork and everything down to about 14 or so points. When you're working with external developers or even internally, I'm assuming you've got some developers in-house, how are you going to ensuring that code is PCI compliant and you're keeping up with your agreements of PCI compliance as e-commerce owners?
Right, there's 2 versions of PCI compliance you need to worry about. There's version 2 and version 3. Actually, version 2 is now expired just expired. So version 3 is what is now relevant. It's still okay as long as you're iframed for your. This is the requirement we get. Just one area.
I actually do PCI compliance reports, so I'm
okay.
really
So the advice is interesting for us then.
Yeah.
So the advice we get given is it was very conflicting while they're trying to work out version 3. What we were told was if it's an iframe, that it's still okay that our code just doesn't require us to be PCI compliant because our network doesn't come into play, therefore our coding doesn't come into play. The real question mark is around the man-in-the-middle attacks, which some other people in Magento have been suffering from, some other retailers I wouldn't name. That's our advice. Now the great thing about PCI compliance is that if we get whoever tells us whoever is telling us to fill out the questionnaire, they then take on the responsibility and then we fill out the SACD based on their responses. That's what we've been told. We've also had conflicting advice that we need to have security, our coders have to go through security course. Everything is in play, therefore everything in Amazon's in play, everything in the network's in play, it becomes enormous
Do you have audits? How often do you have audits?
we audit twice a year.
Okay.
So we've got Deloitte's order us twice. We use Vectra for our PCI audit.
Yeah.
Questions?
But happy to talk about that.
Oh, yeah, just Ryan.
Oh, I was just going to ask, for the smaller player, how do you actually address, or do you even consider PCI compliance at all?
Of course, we have to, all 3 sites are PCI compliant, and then we get stuff from the bank, we get stuff, our web company helps us through it, and we make sure we're always PCI compliant.
And I guess the follow-up to that is, and this is to some extent for the whole panel, where do you guys see the inflection point between using the hosted platform like BigCommerce versus using a custom platform like Magento?
Yeah, for us, I guess that's the question. We don't specialise in Magento entirely, so I think the clients that are looking at BigCommerce or Shopify, maybe they don't need the level of customisation that we offer, so we don't really work in that market, I guess.
I mean, for me, it would be, we have one big site that's definitely on Magento, but the small site I was talking about, the labels, will look at Shopify, it's not worth a Magento. It's so big and clunky. It's like buying a massive house when you're one little person. You just don't need all that extra space, and it's expensive to maintain and to, you know, worry about. So for a sub $1 million business, I would think maybe you didn't plan on growing much bigger.
We do $80 million that we would remit to within the next 2 years to do 200 million. So it just doesn't equate.
It's for micro businesses, I think.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, retail, the digital arm, the e-commerce, it needs to be a core skill. You need to be very, very, very good at it. So whether, if you've got a bricks and mortar site, if you're a pure play, then clearly that needs to be a core skill. If you're bricks and mortar like us, or a hybrid, then, you know, 7% of our people order online. The rest of them, the 93%, come into our stores. And the first 80 to 90% of people do their research online before they come into store. So we need to make sure they have the best experience, so they actually come to us rather than they go to a competitor. And they're a great lead in. If I was going to start a business, I might actually go on Shopify or BigCommerce just to test my concept to see how people are interacting, and then I'll go, right, now I know how to build my digital website.
To answer that question with a Magento hat, I think that there's definitely a gap there. Magento Go obviously ended, and that was the issue. I think they're trying to address that. I seen a site the other day, smallbusiness.magento.com, so I think they're really trying to address that.
That's the URL, .magento.com.
Smallbusiness.magento.com. They're trying to fill that space, so as I understand.
Do you guys see a continual shift and see a change away from the, you know, a platform-based e-commerce solution towards a SaaS-based thing? I mean, with more introduction of more small businesses hitting online, as you say, you know, it's 7% at the moment, but that's 7% growth from 0%, you know, 10 years ago. It's going to continue to grow for small businesses more so than enterprise. But, you know, do you guys see that tipping point where a platform-based solution is no longer the status quo even for enterprise?
I would move to a SaaS solution tomorrow if they can upgrade, keep it upgraded, and make sure it's got 100% uptime, or 4 or 5 nines of uptime. Then I would move tomorrow. There's no benefit for me hosting whatsoever. Changing code and things. I think the Salesforce platform, you know, Salesforce is a platform now. It's not just a CRM, it's a platform. I think everyone's very comfortable building applications sitting on there. I'd be happy if Magento changed that model. Go away.
That would mean you have to change that because your customization goes out the window, doesn't it?
No, well, Salesforce. You
Limitations
can't
of
have
customization.
Salesforce still.
Yeah, I think
They
Salesforce.
do it well within their parameters.
Yeah, I think they're a good model to base it on. They're going, you know what, you can customize the hell out of it. Customers have no idea you're running on the Salesforce platform, whether it's a mobile device or a desktop. It works really well.
Yeah, it started from the beginning as being SaaS and it's still SaaS. It's like very difficult to take your on-house premise that's been modified and then continue that on. Anyway,
You're always going to get restricted, yeah.
Any questions? Pharrell? Oh, no. Pharrell, you got a question, don't you? Yeah, you do. Brian, any questions? See, I'm calling people out. See, there you go. Told you, don't ask questions, I'm going to get you involved.
First of all, Paul, I see that you guys have been doing a lot of work on, I guess, like Big Smith on that. Have you seen any sort of increase in sales, and does that actually cannibalize your sales in your actual online web store?
Do we see sales increasing on our online store?
Yeah, but then like you've been selling stuff through eBay as well.
So the channels bit is interesting for us. So I think the whole omni-channel thing is really interesting. All of our channels actually end up in Magento. Ironically, all the orders go through there because that's how we do our store fulfillment. But for us, the strategy is that we're not proud. We will sell our goods. We sell a commoditized product. It might be a surprise to you. Our MacBook is exactly the same as JB Hi-Fi is in Dick Smith. So what we do is we just push it out. We have the catalog sitting in Magento, and then we farm it out to whoever will receive it, or we pull it back in again. Channels has become really important for us because it's very expensive to market to people to come to your website. It's really costly. But if the party's somewhere else, so it's 5 million people a month looking at on eBay, we'll send if they want to transact on eBay, they transact on eBay. The other interesting bit on the channels is now the click and collect model is becoming quite important to us. Chatham House rules applies, so don't, the camera isn't on. So about 30 to 40% of our orders are click and collect orders, people coming into stores. Now, what's interesting is that now eBay is starting to do click and collect orders. So, sorry?
Always.
Yeah.
Are they letting you pick up Dick Smith at Always?
No. I don't like this very much.
Is that a knife sticking out of the package?
But what's interesting in that is that you're not a Dick Smith. If you're on Dick Smith's website, you're somewhat affiliated with the brand, or you don't hate them at least. eBay, you don't care. You just care about the product and the price. But we can then drive you into store and hopefully convert you over to be a Dick Smith customer, or sell you more goods and things like that. So the omni-channel is becoming really interesting. And again, it all flows back into Magento. So it's not just about that front-end website.
Oh, go ahead.
Just a question about data and data collection with omnichannel. So how do you know and how do you collect information about those customers? I know it's a different question, but also to the costume box. So you're obviously using Magento to get a certain amount of information, but what is it you do to sort of get a better understanding of your customers?
Of your eBay customers?
eBay, Magento, and obviously omnichannel.
The problem with eBay is, like we do eBay too, Wonder Woman's Wonder Woman. It's the same one as a lot of what we sell is commoditised product too. We take eBay, we'll take the sales wherever we can get them, but I don't never really count it as part of the business because they can just turn it off or change their search function or whatever that pushes you to the bottom. You can't control it really. So in terms of how those customers behave, what their metrics are, I don't know, I think I hate eBay customers. They're not brand loyal, they don't care, they only shop on price. Yeah, they're kind of that.
The trusted buyer element, from a regular buyer,
Right.
I think that does play a part as a shopping on eBay. Someone who's got 5 happy customers or 5,000, it's a bit of a simple choice about whether those goods are going to arrive to me or not. So.
Sure.
They're a very tough customer, so the rating is really important, and you can argue with eBay a bit because it's unfair, but generally so they are a different customer. Their basket size is much lower. It's incredibly important to us, though. eBay, we can do $1 million in a day from eBay. So
I can pick and choose the testimonials I put on my own website, but not on.
So it's a really
You
important.
do that.
The great thing with that channel is that they deal with the charge. There's no chargebacks with eBay, which is fantastic. They can deal with that responsibility. We've seen some classic eBay customers come through. So to give you a real story, the click and collect model, PayPal, you can only go through PayPal with eBay. So PayPal didn't update their terms and conditions for a long time. So the only way you could have the seller protection is if you gave a tracking number. Of course, with click and collect, there's no tracking number. So there's some clever eBay customers out there who are looking around and going, okay, well that's now, so we've seen people come into our store, so ordered a MacBook, come into the store, we've got a video of them coming to the store, give them the piece of paper, showing the license, record all the details, and then taking their laptop and saying, we didn't receive it. And so we can go to PayPal and say, we've got a video of them turning up to store.
Is that still working now?
Yeah.
That's the type of eBay customer you get. We don't get much tracking, we don't get any tracking information. All we do is we try to get orders and how we do. But what we try and then do is do that single customer view. So we've got a data warehouse, we use Amazon's Redshift, and we just try to target that channel and see if they combine it together for the purchase history.
Did they resolve that okay for you with the evidence that you provided?
No, they got the MacBook and we had to give them the money back.
But that loophole's closed now with the new terms and conditions, or?
Where's the
Questions?
I'll get a lot of hits on my blog tomorrow.
This is for anyone. In the new version of Magento, what's the must-have feature for you if you had it your way?
Wait till the next update. No, I'm just playing.
If you had it your way, what's the feature you'd like to have implemented?
The current version I would like to have.
Oh, this is a
Oh,
mythology.
no, the new version, the next version.
Drink.
The 2.0 version?
What would you like? What's on your wish list?
I don't have a big list actually. Putting jQuery in there, they're already doing that. That's pretty handy.
Yeah, no, I never give it. I'll leave that over to you.
Change the data model. The whole EAD thing doesn't work. It's a really nice. It's really good for the flexibility of it, but it's just crap on performance, and they need to move it. They need to be able to update the pricing, be able to when there's under load. It's just not very good. The PIMs, there needs to be a PIM, different views upon that catalogue. That's not very good. And it's still a one-size-fits-all type approach in Magento. It needs to be much more like a CQ, which is based on your buying behaviour. Then you need to have a very different experience. So just a couple of things. The APIs. Come on, just you can't. No one uses the catalogue API because it's just too slow. That's just not acceptable.
I got a question real quick. Since you said CQ, we won't go there today. If you had it, okay, I know we're talking about Magento, but if you had the choice, forget money, which one would you choose? Which CMS would you choose?
Well, did you know CQ and Magento have a plug-in together?
Wow.
So you can actually use Magento as your transaction part and CQ as the front end. And I've seen it sharing the shopping cart and it works really well. Very tempted if I could afford it.
So price is the issue.
Time, price, yeah. Lack of resources for CQ.
You start integrating like that though, every update, you've got it. When you're marrying two parties, I don't know if anyone else has been married, but it doesn't always work.
Yeah, I mean, I think when everyone was waiting for CQ and Hybris to come together, and that was going to be a beautiful, beautiful thing, and they would have taken the whole market, but it didn't happen. And now Hybris is. SAP is doing to Hybris what eBay did to Magento.
No question?
No, all good.
Okay.
I'd just like to know what you're using to send your products from your Magento website to places like eBay and Amazon. Are you using Intuit Pro or something different?
Oh,
Whoever's doing it.
yeah.
Doing a bit of changing actually. We send it through Channel Advisor at the moment. Our data, we're a bit different. Our data's on a central database, then we feed it out to different websites, subsets of the same data, of the same costumes and what have you, to different websites. So our BRP system runs our feeds. They come from our BRP system into Channel Advisor and then into eBay. Well, that's a level of complication we probably would be better without, so we're going to start running it straight out of Magento into eBay. But then it goes straight back into BRP. It doesn't come back into Magento. Dispatch on Magento.
For us, MIP sucks on eBay, so we go through a third party called Omnivore for eBay. We use Channel Advisor for TradeMe, and then all the others we use a very basic solution. We use S3 buckets all along the way. God, it works every time. To get things onto eBay to the S3 buckets, we use MuleSoft as our service bus because that works really reliably and smooth.
What are your thoughts on Alibaba and potential counterfeit and everything like that? And also you mentioned that you're going through different marketplaces. Are you monitoring what your product's selling and any sort of potential sort of green market area there?
I mean, Alibaba's really expensive to get onto. We're looking at it. It's 20% and 20 grand upfront cost or something like that. But
Really?
To list your products, wouldn't half your products come from Alibaba, like your costumes and shit? Sorry.
a lot's made in China for sure, but actually they often come by way of the US.
We don't ship overseas for fraud reasons. Just doesn't work. Wouldn't work for us. Yeah, and we're always worried about the Amazon thing, but take it off with $1. It works out pretty well for us now. Buying is really expensive, but people that marketplace was creeping closer and closer to us, and they do. You don't want to fight with Amazon.
For a follow-on from that, what do you think the challenges are for online retailers or e-commerce retailers in the next couple of years, in particular with rumours that Amazon will come to Australia very soon?
That rumour's been around
For a long time.
Yeah. I was at Westfield for a while there when they were doing the business case for Amazon. However, it doesn't really stack up for them. They're going to come at some point, and they will take the money. They will do what they've done to Best Buy. Best Buy is a place where people go to check out the product before they go buy it on Amazon. And I think that's the only way you can fight that is you've got to provide the best customer experience you possibly can, and that's the only way to fight it. To know that we'll look after you better than Amazon. You can, if you've got a problem, that you can physically go to store and take that back is quite a compelling thing, and you might be willing to pay a few $100s more for that experience because you know you'll be looked after. But, yeah.
And where do you think Magento fits in that with the extension CRMs and links? Like, is Magento growing into the customer relationship area or linkages with it? Do you think that it should go there? I guess.
I've got a strong opinion about it. So I think eBay screwed up. So eBay bought Magento, and then everyone left in their team. And I don't know, I've never seen a software take this long to go to 2.0. They've gone to, now by the time they are just getting to 2.0, we're still being told by Magento, don't even go on to 2.0 for Christmas, wait till next year. So that's what we're getting told. All the features in 2.0 are things that should have been there 2 or 3 years ago, would have been really useful. I think they're so far behind on the platform. They need a what eBay owes the Magento developer community is they need to invest lots of their capital into that business because they screwed it up for a good couple of years. That's my. I don't know what Philip's like.
That's probably why Denmark's failed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you might have heard of Oro CRM as well, which is a CRM that's built by the founders of Magento, I guess, so they're competing in that space.
Question for you guys. Do you think Bitcoin will have an impact on e-commerce?
Why would it? It's just another currency. I think the opposite should be true. People start embracing it and it will start to become interesting, but it's just another currency.
Outside of guns and drugs, you mean?
You're going to do that anyway.
I mean, but, yeah. I've read about it.
So it's interesting on the fraud piece. Is a Bitcoin customer better than a PayPal customer without seller protection? No, it's not. As long as you can convert it into Aussie dollars, and as long as you don't give us a chargeback, we want your money.
Yeah, I think for Magento it's just another payment method really. I don't think it'll change very much Magento. I mean, it might help the currency situation. Being more sort of currency agnostic, I suppose, but no real change, I don't think.
I would be the first retailer to do it.
I think PayPal supports it.
Do they?
Yep.
We'll go through PayPal. Self-protection done.
Questions?
What about limitations on your existing platforms? Is there only like one feature or one issue that sort of gives away ahead of everything else?
So what we want, or so
What do you like, or is broken? Both.
the APIs for me is broken. That's the fundamental thing. You just we can't update our website when it's really busy, and we want to change our pricing. And what we're finding is, I think you'll probably find the same thing. People are very clever online. When they see a problem, they jump on it. So again, a real story. Yesterday, not live now. We were selling gift cards for 7% off, and then other people worked out that if you did a combination of promo codes, you can get another $20 off. And so it was just, and we've had people where if they did a certain combination, they could get a television for $100. And they put those things up on OzBargain, and they, and you're going, oh crap! And you're waiting for the Magento API to upload. It's the most painful experience.
I think the licensing is one of the big limitations now as well. I think it constrains people to distinct architectures, which works against them, especially when they're trying to scale.
True.
Yeah.
You can't. You're trying to have you've got elastic capability online, and you can't use it. You can't horizontally scale because you don't have the licenses for it. It's just, and then if you want an unlimited license, you've got have something like the equivalent of like 16 servers for us.
Some of the
So,
companies that did that. Microsoft were very good at doing that.
true, and they're going really well in the e-commerce space. CQ's got the same problem. David's got the same problem.
We won't go there.
So I'm just really curious, like, as a long-term CMS development solutions designer, you just mentioned to me something that was really terribly scary. You said that it's taken 6 months to go through a point version of Magento for an upgrade. What happens to your security in that? Because in that time, you've got 6 months, the security vulnerabilities have been spread all across various communities, and that's, you got that security vulnerabilities there for 6 months till you upgrade. How do you, what are people's thoughts? I mean, that would scare me out of
It's really the things we get. We fork the code. We're working on 1.13, then we merge the code back. So it's not like we had one team working on upgrading. We had another team working on features and things like that, and we managed to merge the code back in fine. It just took a long time to get together.
And is that, out of curiosity, and that's because that must, I mean, are you heavily customizing the core itself? Because if you're looking at it from a code-based perspective, if you've orphaned that code, then that upgrade's going to take a lot to happen. If you haven't orphaned that code, you should be able to roll that update out. Bear in mind, Magento is not something I specialise in.
I can speak for Acidgreen, I suppose. We never touch the core. I think any development agency would. You extend the core.
Well, you wouldn't, because the second you touch it, you orphan your code base, which is why I'm thinking
That's
the
right.
reason
It's
it would take 6
basically
months.
bad practice to touch any of the code. You extend the modules on top of the code. So then an upgrade, you look at the modules that you've extended and just ensure that they're still going to work on the new version. 6 months for an upgrade though, that's, yeah, definitely it's a project. Like, that's probably one of the things I'd like to improve about Magento. We got customers, Magento 2 is coming out. What do you think? Should we move up? And it's sort of like, do you have 30 grand? I mean, it's a project.
1 to 2 I can understand, because you're crossing versions.
Yep.
For example, you wouldn't just turn around and expect a Drupal 6 site to go to a Drupal 7 or a Joomla 2 site to go to a Joomla 3. No. But you would always expect, unless you impact that core, that you can go from 7.34 to 7.35 in an update, and that should only take you a very small amount of time.
That's not
versioning is reliant on the developers though, and the team. Like, you could name it 1.6, or you could name it 2, or you could name it 27.
Yeah.
It's just
No.
just a
When
choice.
you're doing release design, your points, when you go from a number, you're actually changing framework up, like you're changing architectural movements here. When you're going from a point, you're not changing architectural changes.
That's
You're not
assuming
making
everyone adheres to OSS. No, not everyone does.
So what I'm hearing then is Magento has a terrible development pattern.
Yes and no.
Is that the case?
I spoke to an agency.
I'm seriously trying to understand why that took so long.
I spoke to an agency months ago, and they actually had implemented processes such that developers couldn't touch the core, so they could only work on code and modules, and then the core got thrown in at the last minute before stuff goes to production. For them, it was still a 2 to 3 month upgrade.
Okay.
The model to extend it is there, but it's still not a direct upgrade path.
You have to look at each version. Some have a very nice upgrade path, and you can run a few commands and update it, but most of them don't have that. Certain versions have implemented new core features that you need to look at before you do an upgrade.
Between 1.12 and 1.13 was a fundamental change to the way they architected it. The indexing completely changed. Why they did that was because of the same problems we had a sorry?
Because it was rubbish.
It was rubbish, yeah. I thought you said that was rubbish. I thought I was misinformed. No, it was a fundamental change. Actually, what Magento did was, again, they didn't actually invent this re-indexing. They actually, another company was buying it, or was selling it, and they realised, oh, this is a really popular plugin to fix their issue, and they bought that company and tried to implement it. The other reason why it took a long time for us, at that point we had an agency who was building a website, and they promised us they were never touching the core. They
Bastards.
They weren't. that's one word for it. They promised us, and of course, when we started going into the upgrade path, we realised there was some corners cut.
That's the first thing we do. We inherit a lot of sites, and you just do it and get diff on the call to see straight away if any changes in there, and then it gets tricky from there on.
Got a question real quick. In what circumstances would you recommend Magento Enterprise Edition? That'll be a no.
When you have you want at least 16 servers.
You need support. I mean, we're a big company. We need the support, and they do give it us. Although I can't remember ever using it.
Green, but I've never talked to Magento directly.
It's a tricky way.
One big reason to buy Enterprise is for the indemnity insurance or whatever that comes with the license.
Yeah, support. There are if you're using a lot of the features, then it can be a no-brainer when you're a big company. But a costume box is an example of how you can do pretty well on community
No
issues
one's
as well.
been able to give us a compelling reason to go to Enterprise for costume box yet, and what we're going to get that we don't already get on community. Granted, we definitely are updating community to the latest version, but we do varnish cache. You know, we put all this stuff on extra on the top. Why do we need to pay for 5 servers?
So are you just saying that the pain threshold is too low, or there's no pain at all between your community and enterprise? Because you've got both websites running.
Yeah, and we've only just launched the new enterprise one, so it's a bit of a suck and see. Is it really better? What's better? Every time we have the, round the table, 2 hour, tell me why, tell me why, tell me why. We can explain away everything. Well, they'll do this and do this. Yeah, but we already have this plugin that does that. Or, so no one's ever been able to give us a compelling enough reason to move costume box to it yet.
Moving back to the prior point before about touching the core as well, you'll find a lot of trouble getting support from Magento if you have touched the core, even if you haven't enterprise license.
So I'm really questioning my decision.
So you'll have trouble.
I just was curious if you could each talk about your experience using the ecosystem of extensions and that kind of stuff versus doing any custom extensions as well.
Yeah, there's some really good ones out there. For any customization task that we have, the first thing we do is go and look at the extension marketplace and see what's out there, what reputable ones are there, and we make a decision, I guess, to use that extension and then customize on top of that, or just start from scratch. When we started with Magento, we had less experience. Probably extensions were the way to go, but as we've grown as an agency, we have the skills to do a lot of what extensions are doing and customize it without the rest of the stuff that we don't need from the extension. So yeah, there's some really good ones. It's a matter of researching, reviewing them, and using computer ones, I think.
So you got the skills to do it yourself rather than paying a subscription for a simple little module?
Yeah, that's it.
The thing is too, there are a lot, and as James said, good and bad. Big thing I worry about as well when looking at them is always worry about the performance impact and also the security impact of putting them in. It's all well and good to go and buy a module or extension that gives you a widget on your website, but if that increases your page load time by double, it might not be worth it.
Yeah, we're taking on a site now with 30 extensions. That's the most we've ever seen, so it's pretty crazy. So do we go through and look at all those and see if they're really needed? It's tricky. I guess we leave them there and hope that they're doing it right. But yeah, there's some good ones.
I was just going to say, just following on from that, because the Magento sort of extension shop, as it were, is basically unreviewed.
Yep.
Would you sort of favour moving towards like a Shopify method where percentage of the income generated by Magento is basically spent on reviewing these kind of extensions, making sure they're up to scratch and no one's copying other people's extensions?
Yeah, I do recall at the solution partner meeting at Magento Live this year, there was some initiative to actually have Magento start reviewing some and to put a badge on extensions that have been reviewed by Magento. So I know that's definitely what they're trying to do. No, I think there are really good extensions out there, and when you look at the fact that they've been installed thousands of times and they're tried and tested and they have a support community there, but they can be really useful. They have their place. You just got to be careful.
Oh, good.
Paul, do you use any third-party extensions?
We do.
More specifically, sorry, do you pre-IPO?
Actually, we don't anything with the core, anything to do with the core shopping experience. We don't. It's all customized code. Extensions are really great for things like lookbooks and things like that, where you go, you know, I don't want to write the code and want to throw a couple of PDF catalogs in there and be able to transact off it. We use those. We have ones which are built, which aren't from the marketplace, but that people, third parties like Tomando, have built for us, and then set up. But it's more of a commercial agreement with, and that's a method for deployment rather than more of the extension marketplace community thing.
Were there any IPO implications with third-party extension, third-party code that wasn't licensed?
Oh, the IPO don't go down about out into that code. Anything to.
Is Tomando sharing that extension around, or is that just for you?
No, they are definitely sharing around. We went through a very brutal experience of using that up. Yeah, that's now the way of doing our fulfillment. It works really well.
Back?
So how do you track your page speed, and do you use any like New Relic or anything in order to break down into one page working and another page not working?
We use New Relic.
Okay.
We use New Relic, but we case the hell out of it. So to give you some numbers, so we're only on 4 front-end servers, and our load test we got up to 10,000 concurrents, genuine concurrents, without any problems whatsoever, because we use different caching layers.
Are you guys doing anything around functional or unit testing for your sites?
I've got another strong opinion about unit testing, which is not that favourable. I'm really worried about. I think unit testing has.
Give that guy a beer. First time I've seen you stuck.
So we do have some minor unit testing. I think mainly unit testing is a complete waste of your time. I have run.
Oh yes.
I've built $50 million websites with 100% code coverage. So this is where I'm going from the other end of the journey. The reason why I think it's wasted time is I've seen developers make a code change, a couple hours code change, and then spend the rest of the day fixing tests. Not because they are invalidated, not because they've tested breaking the system, because they're just invalidating the test because they're no longer relevant. I think if you want to spend all your time doing it, spend as much of your time using building automated regressional tests, doing those, and that will pick up nearly all of the bugs that you don't introduce. And then you have the additional benefit, because we do an awful lot in development around testing around before we put in things in production, and we do very limited testing when it's in production. So I think then you can take those automated Selenium regression tests and then implement synthetic monitoring in the front end in production to see if you're breaking things. Because it's fine with New Relic telling me I'm up and getting good page load speeds and I'm all my index is going really well, but people are getting an error message. So that's why I want to see whether people can transact all the time. So I think unit testing has I think we were so focused in this agile TDD, VDD world that we went a bit too far with it, and I think it's only do a unit test where you think it's appropriate. Spend much more time on your automated tests.
I agree to an extent, although I think you can have good tests and bad tests. Google published an article recently about change detector tests, and they said if you're writing tests as just testing, this outputs a 2, and you change your code to do something different, the unit test is irrelevant in the first place. If your code said echo 2 and unit test says this says 2, there's no value. So I agree, most unit tests that people are trained to write don't necessarily present a lot of business value, but I think there are ways to write more. And I wish more developers would do more testing, because we see a lot of issues post-production.
The only thing I would say was on BDD, what I did really like about it is you write your scenario of what you're trying to achieve. And the biggest thing is, being an old ex-developer, is that you would look at somebody else's code, you go, what the hell were they thinking? It's the first thing you do. And if you actually see the scenario they're trying to go through, you can then step through and actually get the element of the psychology they'll go through. What problem are they trying to fix? And that's having documentation in the code to tell you that was really beneficial.
Back? Other question?
Just to follow up on the testing side of things, though, Do you guys do any kind of testing, or what kind of processes might you implement to prevent some of the things like you suggested, where people can chain together coupon codes and get a TV for $100? Do you guys do any of that kind of business logic type testing?
No.
Have you considered implementing?
We should. It's a bit of machine learning, a bit of finding out suddenly you're getting an influx. Probably all you need to do is we actually keep a. This is so low level, or high level, sorry. We do a Google alert on Ozbargain to make sure if the word Dick Smith comes up there, we know straight away. And
that's your measure.
That's still a couple hours out of date often.
Oh no, they are within minutes. They are, Ozbargain people are just amazing.
I just mean the Google alert can often be, I find sometimes
yeah.
that
We should be able to do it, but we don't. And it's so clever how people pick these things up.
So the guys spend all day listening to the radio waiting for the deals,
Yeah. The other thing is, if it's obviously an error, sometimes we've made a mistake, and we've sent 3 TVs to the same person by mistake. It was a repeat of the thing, and we just sent them a note saying, sorry for cluttering your porch. That was it, so they get it. But most of the time, we just cancel the order.
Quick question for you. How do you think Magento in the community, how do you think Magento in the community, and how do you think they approach open source? That's you.
Could you repeat the question?
How do you think Magento in the community?
Think about Magento in the community.
Approach
I'll treat that in the context of the enterprise license as a good example. So, you've got the open core and enterprise private features. And I don't necessarily think that model works well in the marketplace. Obviously, it's making Magento a lot of money, but as we've seen today, the benefit people seem to get is the support. So why not just make the core entirely open and sell support on top if there is value in that service? I think they've got some features that people are buying, and they're buying the enterprise license for, that I don't necessarily agree should be a paid-for product. It should be part of the core. Yeah. Full page cache is a great example, but you're using Varnish cache, in which case full page cache doesn't matter.
This is the round and round we go, but
Yes.
I mean, the enterprise comes with that hosting, but you have to take their hosting with it.
No, you just buy a license. You get a different set of code, so there's got some improvements and actually bug fixes that aren't in the community edition, which is interesting.
That's really sad.
More questions? Brian?
Just kind of expanding on, I think what that question might have been trying to get at.
Please.
How would you compare the Magento open source community to other open source communities? So, Drupal, WordPress, any of the others. Both from things like I've asked about the extension side of things, the philosophy, the friendliness of the community, any of that kind of stuff. Commercial nature.
Yeah, it's great. It's hard for me to comment because I haven't worked too much in the Joomla or WordPress space, I suppose, but it has everything you want from an open source community, hackathons and get-togethers and Magento Lives and these kind of things. So I think it's a great community. It's expanding. I'm happy with it.
I got a question. Was asked before, but we're struggling to just think deep about it. Why would you choose Magento anyway? Yeah, that's deep, but I just want, why would you, it's not to be, so what, there's a ton of other CMSs out there that can compete. We know, CMSs, but also e-commerce, but why would you choose Magento over all the other CMS platforms?
It's now proven. There's an awful lot of developers resource available. It's cost effective as a solution, and it's extensible. So I'm not bound into it to the path.
And that's further on that, why would you not choose Magento?
APIs? No. If I was something like Hybris have a fantastic PIM. That's its selling point. It was a PIM and then you build an e-commerce engineer on top of it. Magento has no PIM. So if you want to centralize all of your environments and having your customer service in there, your support, your order management in there, then Hybris or those type of solutions are much better for it. Magento is much more of a front-end e-commerce website than a whole e-commerce platform.
I guess asking what's the catalyst that would take you from Shopify to Magento or from WooCommerce to Magento? I mean, is it quantity of products? Is it functionality? What's that catalyst that would move me to Magento from some other?
I think it's customization, being able to do what you want. I guess Magento gets a bad rap. People like to hate on Magento. It's slow if you don't configure it right, and it's got a steep learning curve, I guess, for clients. But that's a symptom of the fact that it is complex. It does a lot of things out of the box, and it's got a great core that you can build on. It's got a community that you can work with, that you can get extensions from. So I think there's still that gap that Magento need to, if they want to cover the whole market, maybe they're not looking to do that, but there's definitely that Shopify big commerce area for smaller.
Yeah, they're fine if I'm selling t-shirts and there's no variables on the shipping or the...
Yeah, Magento's complex. People,
options.
New customers like Nikki have to learn what a configurable product is and the bundle and group and all these kind of terms that Magento has. But you need to know that if you're going to sell products, so you have to get into that learning curve and learn that.
Once you get to a volume where those tiny tweaks can make millions of dollars of difference in revenue, you've got to be getting out of something that's so constrained like Shopify, getting into something that's really customizable to be able to say, I need that there.
Just to clarify, when you say those tweaks, can you give some examples of, it sounds like you're primarily focusing on front-end changes rather than...
UI, UX, yeah.
Yeah.
Everything. Tweaks. I don't know, moving the search bar to the middle and making it bigger. Just tiny things and big things as well. Just the, we just this afternoon quite disastrously put on a new, what's my words, navigation, down the side, multi-select navigation. Because I saw another site and well, that's nicer, I want to be able to do that. So just anything I see anywhere on the web, I go, okay, I think that's a nicer experience, I want to do that, and you'll be able to go and find an extension and make it work and modify it, put it in and see results.
A 0.1% of conversion increase for us is $500,000 extra a month. So you're making those little tweaks makes a really big difference.
Question in the back, very back.
Yeah, Paul, you mentioned that the PIM, Magento doesn't have a PIM capability. What are the gaps for Magento to become a PIM? In your opinion, in your mind, what?
Changing different pricing for different channels, different ranging, how suppliers get information into the PIM itself. The product category management is much more mature. Those sort of things. To be honest, we're at the point of actually Hybris wouldn't be big enough for a PIM for us anyway. So we go with a third-party solution that's dedicated just to do that. So our main websites are becoming less important to us now. The channels are becoming more important. Therefore, the ranging is becoming more important.
Question? Well, I know you have some more. I got a question.
You're talking about your channels that, outside of eBay, we've discussed, and obviously, Google and all those type of things. What other channels are you using to feed people into your website?
So we try to use a channel that has different a different audience type that would necessarily go to. So Dick Smith customers generally, not anyone in this room, it would probably be somebody in the 50s who didn't go to Dick Smith forever. A catch of the day, which we're on, they are looking for bargains and they have that short period of window of time, and we just want to...
Your Groupon, those type of ones.
Exactly the ones. We're trying to go. eBay's, our biggest selling on eBay will be rechargeable batteries. We will sell hundreds of thousands of dollars in that, because that's that type of audience. So we're just choosing it. Trade Me, because they're so colloquial, they love Trade Me because it's using a brand, so therefore we're on that area. It's just trying to target different groups because they're not going to cannibalize ourselves.
What are the biggest problems that you're finding selling online now? What's the biggest issues you're finding selling online?
Problems selling online?
Yeah, the products. What's the biggest issues that you have?
You mean from a market perspective or from a website?
The website, website. You're a little different because you're bricks and mortars and you're both, but how do you do what's your biggest problem selling? Let's keep it relevant. What's your biggest issue selling your products online?
I think marketing costs, eBay, Google AdWords used to be really profitable. Now it's a shit fight to try and get a sale out of AdWords, and yet you can't live with it, you can't live without it, so that's an issue. Yeah, marketing costs are huge.
Margin and fulfillment. So for us, margin, you've got it. We can't use the same margin we get in store online. It is cheaper. I'll tell you now, it's cheaper to buy stuff on our Dick Smith website than it is online because it's than it is in store because it's a much more competitive market. It's one click away, and people are doing tests between the different sites very quickly. And fulfillment is really expensive, so people expect for you to have a TV shipped to you for $10. It does not cost $10 for you to ship it, and the margins on TVs is nothing. So if we add a bargain for you, so we're selling it something at 10% off, that could be our entire margin, and we lose it on freight. So it's a real challenge for us. Hence why we do.
Why are you selling them then?
Sorry?
Why are you selling them if you're losing money?
Quite often,
that makes absolutely no sense to me.
It's what we do 10% off Apple, for example. We will make a loss on that.
Who said that? Someone.
Accessories at the same time. Is that you're bundling and you're recommending products?
We'll make more money from the phone cover than we will from the phone.
Yeah.
So we will, and you will come back. You're more likely to come back into that store.
And I guess that's one of the features of Magento, as opposed to the Shopify, now where you start looking at recommended products or comparative products, and people that bought this also bought that. Where you're trying to upsell and cross-sell.
Attachment is just absolutely key, and that's why the click and collect model is so good. That we're incredibly helpful when you come to our store. So when you bought that iPad, we come with the accessories that you should have for that iPad, and generally that's the way we do it.
It's good to use the model. It's good to use the iPad because if it comes to like a HTC or Android or something, it's not very helpful.
Hate it.
So a lot of our iPads, not many Samsungs.
Both of you kind of mentioned your problems were kind of similar about margining and your marketing costs. What are you looking at doing for your customer experience or your journey mapping to help your customers want to shop with you more?
We're just revamping our, we use Sweet Tooth reward system, but we've been using it quite badly. It's been quite a well-kept secret, so we're just going through the site now. Instead of doing this discounting race to the bottom, kind of we're trying to up the service level, and you'll get 5% back in costume dollars to spend for your next celebration or what have you, just trying to make it more of a value add than a race to the bottom. So just getting that repeat customer. We're going into different areas, so entering the giftware market with a, you guys might like this, like a nerd hamper concept where you get the Batman costume and the mug and the what have you. Sorry, did I just stereotype you all? So yes, trying to get more of the celebration wallet from each customer, giving them more reasons to come back and buy more stuff.
Lots of things we're trying to do. The first one is around the reverse logistics. We want to make sure your refund process is really, or exchange process is really seamless. So that can be a differentiator for us, especially if we're competing against pure players where it's a bit awkward to send some of those things back. Going into a store and we just sort out for you is a great thing. But also we're trying to get that single customer view, and the idea of the single customer view isn't just to send you that really targeted email 3 times a week. We are going to do that. So, but what we're trying to do is go, what potential benefits can we give to you? You know, when you go to the pods and we ask for your email, sure we can give you an e-receipt. That's a benefit. But what about if we send you the product manual and the warranty as well? So, if you buy that TV and it breaks 3 years' time, then you can go onto our website and you can actually download, whether it's in-store or online, you can go and download that manual, see if you can fix the TV. If you can't fix the TV, then this is the warranty, and here's the receipt. Because now we've all got that drawer where it's next to all the takeaways with all the receipts, and you can't find anything. That's a benefit we have of a single customer view. We know about online and offline purchases, but we're giving you an additional benefit.
Will you be using, you've got a bunch of Adobe products right in your system, will you be using that to monitor those sort of instances where someone might be a customer, so the site recognises them as a customer, goes into a help page that says, you know, I'm looking at fixing my TV, and then it might automatically start prompting them that, hey, we know you bought this TV, here's the manual that goes with that TV.
Yeah, if you get to that point, I think the easiest way we're going to try and do it is, so there's a big difference between responsive and adaptive design, and that's kind of the next stage we're really looking at. So responsive design is, you know, for your desktop or your mobile, you have pretty much the same page, but it's fitted out for that particular device. But adaptive is more interesting to me because it's around context. So if we're trying to know what you're doing, we should give you a different experience. So for example, if we know you're near a store, if you've done a click and collect order and we know you're near a store, then we should be telling you directions, we should give you store hours, maybe the mobile phone number, the actual order, so we can go up there and we can give you advice. So that's where we just give customer value. And I think that's where, the more we know about you, the more we can actually provide a better context, try and understand the context of what you're trying to do. Because if are you in the purchasing cycle, are you in the customer service, in the customer support cycle, or in the pickup cycle, whatever you are.
So Google have just...
Thank you for the...
I
don't feel so bad anymore.
The sympathetic phone drop. So Google have just come out and sort of changing their algorithms to focus on pages that are optimised for mobile, and they're going to increase rankings based on mobile optimised pages. So how much of the focus on mobile do you do, and are you at all interested in mobile apps as part of that process, or are you just seeing proper optimised mobile sites as the thing? I mean, is an app even worth it for your customers? Where are you at with that?
No.
Don't see it?
I think it's very hard for you to get somebody to download an app. You've got to really provide some benefit, and on average you go to Dick Smith store 3 times a year.
Yeah, same with us. We'd be really happy if you come back twice a year, so you're not going to download an app for that. If you're a 16-year-old girl and it's ASOS, yes, there's times when it's really good, but not for us, I don't think.
Yeah, so our mobile focus, and that's where we're focusing a lot up to Christmas, is actually have a mobile website, and then based on the context about what you're trying to do at that particular. If we know you're in store, then we should provide you an in-store experience that helps you on there. If you're at home or away from the store, then you might more likely be browsing, shopping, researching. So we're going to provide you a better experience in that context.
So in store with all of your like QR codes and all that kind of carry on, bells and whistles, never any real benefit for you?
We tried the QR code thing, can work. RFID's an absolute nightmare because you've got to RFID every single item, and therefore we've got thousands of suppliers that come in different and do drop shipping, so we can't do that. That's why RFID never really took off. Plus there's a lot of other issues with it. Yeah, it's more about like trying to understand who you are and what you're trying to do.
I'll just ask one question, that's not very long. How do you guys manage test and dev?
Manage what? Sorry.
Test and dev, like you tested in dev environments.
Mostly beer and pizza.
Yeah, we run staging sites for all of our all sites. So we well at Acidgreen we've set up a deployment strategy so we can deploy with a few commands out to a staging site and have that reviewed, and then when that's tested and confirmed, we can push out to live. So we generally host that on our staging servers, but bigger clients.
Do you use is there a methodology or a framework behind it, or you just create an environment and they go run for gold on it and then sort of get a result?
Yeah, we use a tool called Capistrano, and it's a bunch of scripts basically push out the code by pulling it from a revision controller, Bitbucket, and deploy out that way.
You don't worry about the DB side because you're not touching the DB, or?
We would love to worry about the DB. It's a very tricky thing to do. I guess you'd have to script the whole database, which in a EAV system is not going to happen really. So that would like to be there, but we can't get there. I think Anchor might have a few ideas on how to do that though.
Anchor's fleet.
Segue.
Yeah, I got a question around that real quick. Christian, what are y'all doing sexy as far as with Magento?
What you doing?
What are you doing? What's different? What is Anchor doing different with Magento than any of your competitors, or what are you just doing different?
Yeah, Thank you for the nice intro, Jared.
You like it? You want a beer?
So we've got a lot of Magento customers, and we've seen a lot of them have very similar problems. The point around test dev staging environments is also one we see. And back to the testing argument as well, we see a lot of customers or a lot of developers who don't necessarily put as much rigor into their process. So getting stuff into production means that go and throw it up and see what happens, which is not the greatest thing for anyone. So we spent a lot of time developing a product in the background called Fleet. The idea is it represents a platform as a service, but I wouldn't quite call it that. At the moment it's very Magento specific, and it will allow you to go and instantiate dev test staging environments on the fly. And we also work with the concept of build artifacts. So the infrastructure in the application, so the actual specific commit is an artifact in itself, and you should be able to test that in another environment, say, yep, this is good in a staging environment that I cut from production 5 minutes ago, and know that once I get it to production it's going to work. The idea is because that artifact doesn't change, it should be the same.
Paul, you want to add?
No,
Does it work? Does it work?
Christian, if you ever want to spend some time, Christian does a really good whiteboard session on how Fleet works. It's a really clever concept. For people like us, it's a great idea because sometimes it means we could only have a production environment running, and so we only have to pay for a production environment. Other times we want to have dev, test, a forked piece of code that the developer's working in, they can throw it up and throw it down. But it's all about speed, so for us, it's less about the platform, it's all about the speed. How fast can our developers code and get features out there into bypass? Because as I say, if you change the conversion, 0.1% is $500,000, so we need them to work fast.
If we were to resell Anchor service hosting services, can I give all of the customer service to you and not have to deal with the customer at all? Because that's the only thing that's stopping me from wanting to do that.
I'm a chat to one of the sales guys.
Sales guys, raise your hands, please. Well, shit, I'll take it. Hold on 1 second. Jack, back.
Just touching on that one as well, there's a nice line of the value of code that comes back to zero. How do you strike a balance then between testing and staging and making sure that it's going to work and actually getting it out there and finding the value of it?
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Give him a beer.
The only thing we do is on the versions, we put the version number into New Relic, and we can see the changes there to see if it's really breaking the system. But we're not very good at saying this version. We're actually terrible. We should be much better at the going. First of all, we should do the A/B testing and then see if that works or not. But we don't.
Just following up on a different angle on the testing, how do you guys, particularly on the marketing side, how do you guys test campaigns or whatever else before they're live? Or you don't?
Test and measure, bang it out, see if it works.
Suck it and see, we always say.
Suck it.
Let's do it.
Fail off and fail fast.
So we don't fix Smith. Other places have worked. We send out 2 versions to 10% of the customer
Sorry, let
base.
me be clear. I'm not talking about A/B testing or that kind of stuff. I'm talking about you've got a series of products that you want to put on sale or you're getting ready to run a promotion. How do you guys actually test how that's going to look, whether or not the campaign's going to functionally operate in terms of the codes are going to create the right prices, whatever else? Do you guys do any of that kind of stuff? Particularly since it's often based off of production information. Do you guys do any kind of testing around that kind of stuff prior to actually making it
just
live?
like a preview of what it works.
Yeah, or any other kind of testing.
So the way we do it is a really expensive way to do it. We use Adobe's Test and Target as our banner scheduling. So what that allows us to do is we can schedule saying this is what the promo will look like tomorrow at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then you can just put in the URL script, and you can actually see how that will all look, how that will function through, and that's how we actually do our previews. It's a really expensive way to do it.
Yeah, I was going to say that's.
Yeah. But there's some other benefits we can get from Test and Target, so we thought we do that.
Are you getting much or any benefit? Are you doing email campaigns as well? Is it been and gone? Is it working?
Oh,
It's old school? Still happening?
Yeah, you still do the massive spikes of the emails. It's the we'll literally have a bad day, and if we're online and if we send an EDM out, that makes it a good day.
Really random question, I'm going to hold behind the trees.
Oh, hold on a second.
What does Magento owe you?
Stop. No.
How much do you think personalization increases conversions? And have you gone down that path yet? So personalized browsing for customers.
Yeah, we don't have that. I wonder at what point people get creeped out by it.
Yeah, good point.
And we can do stuff that maybe someone like Lewis or Dick Smith can't, because you have that big business being evil kind of thing.
We haven't put the Anzac right in the front page.
No.
It's something we're clearly going to we don't do it, and it's absolutely one of our focuses is to do.
Do you think it increases conversions?
So is there any evidence that it's worked?
I think you've got to. There's the creepy line.
Yeah. It's hard to get a case study.
Yeah, but it's. I think there's some relevance here, especially the way you order your results is really, really important. So you should have different ordered results. If you're searching for that and then you go back 3 days later, it's showing you that as. In the end, people if they're motivated to find it, as long as you have your capacity search, your keyword searches are very good, people will generally find what they want to have.
And do you think Magento will support you in your personalization journey?
No.
What would?
We would put recommendation engines in there, and we use like SLI for our search.
Oh, 1 second, just let you know, get you, Ryan, you had enough. Just one second. One more question after that, we're gonna start networking. Let you know, guys, don't hound these guys, network. You have Thomson Reuters, you have Anchor, you have Wiser here, you have Fortune 200 companies, you have Huawei, a $260 billion company back there. Network, get to know who you have in here. You have e-commerce, you have PCI compliance. Find out if it's relevant to your business. Talk, network with each other before just jumping on these guys. But half of y'all look like y'all going to sleep. So what I want y'all to do is network after this question. Pizza will be here in about 15 minutes. Y'all look hungry. Y'all look about to fight somebody. So after this question, we'll go ahead and start networking.
Can I ask Andrew?
Oh, 1 second. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Are you guys using standard Magento search or are you using something custom?
We were using SLI. We just moved to SearchScript. On the new enterprise site we just went, we're trying out their solo to see how it is. So far it sucks with it though.
SLI.
Technical term,
It does suck. Have you used Solar?
I'm just really interested in your PaaS offering. I've been looking at it a little bit, and what have you got in the way from a DevOps perspective in regards to APIs, and do you host Git, or how are you? Sure, you can answer that really quickly.
Yeah, the whole system is driven just by post-receive hooks, so whatever your repository happens to use. At the moment, it integrates with Bitbucket and GitHub.
Yep.
At the moment, I would like to say that we have a nice RESTful API, but it is limited to just some CLI tooling, and as of probably tomorrow afternoon, a nice web interface. API is definitely one of the next steps there.
Yeah, cool.
Let y'all know, the first half of pizza will be here soon. Okay, the second half will be here soon after the pizza oven broke. Oh well. McDonald's is down the street if y'all get too hungry. Stay, network, please. Realize what you actually have here with people. You have New South Wales State. There's so many people you need to talk to. Network, talk, pass out some cards. No selling allowed, except for me. No, just playing. Y'all network, have fun, get to drinking. Go.